In today's video, we're going to be discussing the importance of BioSteel bringing back the pro athlete marketing campaigns. One of the things that I'm struggling with right now is trying to figure out if BioSteel actually needs the pro athlete endorsement for the brand in order to continue its relevance for the future, maintain its market share, all of that stuff. And I'm legitimately struggling with that because we're so busy. We have so many things going on. Like you said, there's massive expenses right now because we're putting all the puzzle pieces back together. Although on a accrual basis, we're profitable. From a cash basis, it's tight because the previous BioSteel fucked up so bad that we're having to prepay for everything. And that's not typically how businesses work. Nobody's giving us terms. They're gonna start rolling out, but that is the reality of things. So I'm wondering, me and Clark are going to have a discussion about it, and then I would love to hear people's feedback on it based off of our discussion, and also me and Clark are wearing the same shirt.
Friday's blue shirt day.
So
Dan called me this morning. He's like, "What are you wearing?"
Yeah, exactly.
Let's match today.
Yeah.
Matchy.
Yeah. So
very interesting question.
Yeah, man. Like I'm actually really struggling with that, and I'm telling you, like, the research shows that it's a great play for awareness, and also it is relevant to keep the elitist feel of the brand. Like, I don't know if elitist is the right word, but I know people don't like that concept or that term, but the
caliber.
I don't even know how to explain it. Like, to maintain that
allure,
the reputation, the high quality, marketing aspect of the brand, that pro athletes are actually using the brand and stuff like that. So I'm truly struggling with trying to figure out if BioSteel really actually needs that or not, because moving forward, I think here's what I could say. Number one, I think for sure it's not necessary at the scale it once was. That is unequivocally correct, I feel.
I think probably the number one factor there is social media didn't exist back then. There was
back when
like athlete endorsements was probably the number one way to market a product like this.
Got it. Yes.
Right.
Correct.
One of the number one things.
Okay.
And I think that when you're looking at influencer marketing, it really is like athletes were the influencers.
Yes.
Whereas we're in a very different state of the world right now.
But define like influencer marketing, because like the way that we're approaching it from like an influencer marketing aspect is the bigger influencers are not necessarily the people that we're going after.
Correct.
Right? We're going after like the micro and nano influencers at scale.
Yeah.
Right? Who actually have more of an engaging audience. So are we lumping those large influencers that have arguably sometimes the same reach as the pro athlete that they're actually sponsoring, or that BioSteel was typically sponsoring? Or are we, like, for example, like you take a guy like I don't even know who, like what's the top 5 NHL players, they might have the same amount of reach, if maybe even less. It's for sure engagement, because they're not social media influencers, they're pro hockey players. Same thing like with me. Like, this is not my daily thing. I don't do this. I'm not like a YouTuber, or not that I even have a following like that, but at the end of the day, people are like, oh, well, why don't you put out more videos and stuff like that? It's because I'm a business owner first. I'm not an influencer, right? So would you loop in like macro influencers with, like, 500,000,
like a million plus, for example,
or a couple hundred, 250,000 plus? Would you lump that in as the same as like a pro athlete endorsement, or would you separate that out?
I'd say
let's get our basis here.
Yeah, at a 250 level, I think of like the people that I know that are, let me mute this thing, that are at 250. I wouldn't say that they're at the same caliber as like a pro level athlete.
Okay,
I'd
so
say maybe like a million plus.
Okay, so a million plus would be at the level of like a pro athlete.
Yeah, in terms of like reach, I'd say.
Okay, and then,
because I feel like a lot of B level pro athletes have around 1 million followers on average, from just like what I observe.
It depends on the sport.
True.
Not really NHL.
Sure.
So let's focus a little bit on hockey, because BioSteel is known for hockey. From what I've seen, a lot of look it up. Look up McDavid right now as an example. What's he got on his Instagram as an example?
Because another like interesting kind of comparison was the number one Instagram account in the world right now. You know who that is?
Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Exactly. right? So it's kind of like it is very sport dependent.
100%. Very sport dependent.
And of course, I have no fucking slow Wi-Fi here.
Yeah, okay, let me see.
Connor David.
He's got $1 million.
1.1, yeah.
Which, for arguably the best hockey player in the league, you'd think he'd have more.
Yeah.
Right? So 1.1 million.
So A-level hockey players are at B-levels are probably a couple $100,000 for the NHL.
I bet you they're not even close to him.
Actually, true, because there was even the guy yesterday, or that I looked at, that was at fucking like, he's a plays in Anaheim Ducks, and he only had like 17,000.
A-level?
I've never heard of him before, so I would say not A-level.
Yeah. Okay, well, nonetheless, how important is this?
To go back to your original question.
Yeah, like, how important is this for BioSteel to maintain its competitive advantage, market share, even to maintain its market share, for example? How important is it?
Yeah.
Like, how important would you say it actually is to bring on professional athletes as endorsers of the brand moving forward?
So I'd say, I think there's a couple things to look at here. I think, one, we can look at a couple other brands in terms of success stories and like
in the same market,
in same or similar markets.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll look at that. We'll look at like a track record and kind of proof of concept, and then we can look at the consumer psychology and what leads somebody to buy nowadays.
Yeah.
Right? So in terms of like proof of concept, I think that when I look at the brands, let's say for kind of name competitors, or just be elusive. Yeah. So when you look at, for example, Body Armor, and you look at Prime, and you look at like BioSteel historically.
Gatorade.
And Gatorade.
Would you bring in Gatorade as well?
Yeah, we'll pull in Gatorade. Basically, all the main competitors in this space.
Yeah.
Okay. Even let's pull in Powerade, because Powerade was very big in kind of the 2000s and 2010s.
Okay.
So when you're looking at a company like Gatorade, do people currently buy Gatorade product because it's endorsements of the NFL and pro athletes and etc.? I'd argue if I were to survey 100 people that I know, that ask them the last time they bought Gatorade, why they bought it, it would not be because of a pro athlete or a protein.
And I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
The issue that I have with your, let me see if I could bring them up real quick. So like right away, Gatorade first post, Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. So like, and there's just a ton of athletes. It's like basically only athletes that they have on their thing.
Okay, so that's first example.
Yeah.
They definitely are number one in the space.
100%. I think they own like 70% of the market.
Yeah.
So
now,
anyways, keep going.
So, but we have to keep in mind that also they are a 40 to 50-year-old company, right? That built the brand on this marketing strategy when it really did work.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of have continued that legacy.
Sure.
Right. So how much more market share have they captured because of this marketing strategy? I would argue that they're actually like losing market share.
Interesting.
Right. I don't think that Gatorade's gaining market share.
Got it. Interesting.
That's first. Second one is going to say Body Armor.
Yeah.
What skyrocketed Body Armor kind of like to its popularity in the first place? What do you think? Pre-Coke Bio.
Pre-Bio? Well, it was, so Body Armor was owned by, or partially owned by Kobe Bryant.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, but I would say that's just more like a celebrity endorsement. I do actually, no, correction. I do feel like that Kobe Bryant.
He's a fucking NBA player.
No, I know, but in terms of like, was it an investment because he just wanted to make money, or was it an investment because he actually believed in the formula? I would argue that it was a little bit of both, but I say that he does believe in the formula, that at the time there was a need for a different type of formula for athletes, different from Gatorade. I think that's the reason why BioSteel also grew in popularity as well. I feel like BioSteel's storyline and Body Armor's storyline in terms of early growth was based on the reason that there was a genuine need in the market for a different formula of product, and that was the foundation of the growth. I
would argue that Body Armor, that's not the case, because the formula is actually shit.
Okay, but in terms of like, is it the best formula out there, or is it better than the alternative?
Or is it better than the alternative?
The alternative being like a Gatorade, right? I would argue that at a high level of performance, many athletes that are doing like their research would agree that the formula of Body Armor is more suited towards what they actually need than Gatorade. Now, I wouldn't say it's a universal opinion, but I would say a lot of athletes believe that. I think that's the reason what was set the foundation for the growth of Body Armor and BioSteel. The foundation being that it's a superior formula than the alternative. Fine.
I would argue that that's for sure what happened with BioSteel.
Yeah.
Body Armor was created as a drink to compete with Gatorade.
Okay.
BioSteel was created for athletes, not for the market.
Interesting. Okay.
Same with Gatorade.
Okay.
Gatorade was founded by scientists at the University of Florida for the Florida Gators and their football team. That is it.
Okay.
So, and they did that because they realized that water was not enough,
Right.
right, for their athletes.
Which was novel science at the time.
What? Gatorade?
The formulation of Gatorade.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's still effective, but it's novel. I get what you mean. Same with BioSteel.
Yeah.
Matt Nickel realized that Gatorade was an insufficient formula for athletes, and when they did formulate it, there was a lot of issues with athletes popping for banned substances.
Yeah.
So he wanted to control the process for his athletes, which he was training the Maple Leafs at this time.
Yeah.
So
then let's also now go through the final competitor in the space, the main, kind of like the big five, is Prime.
Yeah.
And so I would argue that what Logan Paul and KSI and the other kind of behind the scenes guys that kind of started and grew Prime, they did it because the overall hydration space was just a dinosaur space, filled with brands that had like old school style marketing. It wasn't new, young, fun, exciting, whatever. And so it's the same thing, like you probably heard about Mr. Beast's chocolate brand, right? He literally created the chocolate because, not that, I mean, he says it's the best chocolate in the world. It's not actually the best chocolate in the world, right? That's, okay, whatever. But he knows that the competitors in the space are like 100-year-old companies. That if he came in, he could capture a young market share just on being young, new, exciting, different, and have a whole new style of marketing. I would say was Prime's strategy. That's what Prime did very, very well, right? Logan Paul's brother, what's his name? The younger brother.
Jeez. Wow, am I drawing a blank?
Jake Paul.
Jake, yeah.
So when it comes to Jake Paul, actually I was going to send you this video because this is also very interesting for the context of this video. Jake Paul just launched a men's skincare.
Saw that, yeah.
It's called W.
Yeah.
Okay. And the formulation of the product, I guarantee, is nothing novel.
Yeah.
It's probably stock formulas and whatever.
Yeah.
But the sales already in the first couple of weeks from kind of like insiders to pulling some sales data is that they're getting massive traffic, strong sales in the first like week or two of launching the brand.
Really?
Why? Because one, he has a huge audience himself.
Yeah.
But he's like doing a great job of marketing it, where he's creating organic feeling videos that are entertaining, but then having the W brand incorporated into it, right? So I think he's utilizing, I don't think he has a novel product. I don't think that's why it's popular. I think he's leveraging his audience, and he's doing a very effective way of marketing to this audience and the new style of marketing, right?
Yeah.
Which is like really kind of like entertainment based, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So those are kind of like an analysis of the competitors. Now, kind of going a little bit outside of the hydration space, I like looking at Alani Nu and Bloom as kind of two companies in the kind of nutrition space. Now,
would you look at like Liquid IV, Element?
We can look at Liquid IV and Element.
Yeah. Okay.
So when it comes to
they're massive
companies.
Yeah. Massive companies. They do a lot of business. They're very similar.
Yeah. So Alani Nu, they're
arguably even, sorry to cut you off, but even arguably like direct competition for BioSteel based on the fact that BioSteel was first to market with this product with stick packs.
Right.
And they built their businesses off of stick packs.
Yeah, not the RTDs.
Not the RTDs.
Yeah. So almost like the original business model is more in the powder space with competitors of Liquid IV and Element than the RTD space. Yeah,
for sure.
Now, I actually do think you can compete in both. I think you can have one foot in each of those two different industries and still be successful.
100%. I totally agree too. Well, obviously, we're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that the market for RTDs is larger, and that's the reason why when BioSteel launched the RTDs, the brand skyrocketed, because there's a much larger market for RTDs. I think that's a very smart move. I think they did that very well.
Interesting.
I think that their growth would have been limited. Their ceiling of the growth would have been limited if they stayed in the powder space and only in stick packs.
Interesting.
Okay. Is what I personally believe. I think they could have grown a very impressive business. But Element's doing a great job. You said that their valuation was $200 million or something?
They sell $200 million. Is what I heard.
Their revenues are $200 million.
That's what someone told me.
Right.
Do I know that for sure? I have no idea.
But a drop in the bucket compared to Gatorade's revenues.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Apparently, Prime's revenues are anywhere between $1 and $2 billion from what they say. Now, it could be inflated, but that goes to show you like Prime in the RTD space versus Element in the powder space.
Yeah.
You're having a multiplier of like 10 times.
Or could you argue that Element doesn't have big endorsements like that?
And that's the reason why it's small?
Yeah.
Potentially.
For sure. I would argue. And another argument would be, I bet you Prime's not profitable.
Right, and I would agree
with that. And Element I bet you is.
And I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two very different business strategies. One trying to go after as much market share as possible at the
Exactly.
expense of profit, because you have essentially like unlimited money to grow the brand, versus the strategy of someone bootstrapping it because Element's not publicly traded. It has no whale investors backing it up.
That we know of. Like,
that we know
don't.
of.
Who knows if they do or not?
I feel like that would have, if they secured some insane investment, there would have been news about that. There would have been press.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they likely have investors as they scale, but I agree with you that they're very likely profitable and they're private. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Based on their business model, me observing how they operate, the
Yeah.
fact that they're so streamlined, so efficient, they really built for scale. I think that their limited marketing that I see out there, I really think that Element is probably profitable.
Fair enough.
So when it comes to Alani Nu, for example, and Bloom, both of them grew on the backbone of like a social media influencer first, right? Both of those people had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers prior to launching the brand. So that in and of itself, I think, gets you to a certain caliber.
Yeah.
When you look at Bloom's endorsements, Bloom was just valued at $450 million last year when they had the 20% sale of the company. Sales are in and around $100 million, give or take, is what the estimated sales are. They don't have like athlete endorsements, celebrity endorsements.
It's such a different brand though.
Very different brand.
Okay.
They are focused on like having thousands of micro and nano influencers promoting their code and like creating organic content. That's their overall marketing strategy. Works very, very well with the female demographic.
Okay.
Okay. When you're looking at Alani Nu, same thing. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of like nano and micro influencers that are promoting the code, that are being sponsored athletes, sponsored ambassadors, whatever. But when you're looking at like celebrity endorsements, they've really only done two that I am aware of. Kim Kardashian, which I feel like is appropriate for that space. No idea how much they paid them, but it was only a one-time limited edition launch. And Paris Hilton was the other one that they did. So once again,
still pretty fucking big.
Big celebrity endorsements, very applicable to like that niche. But what I'm saying though is that when you look at their page, it's not all celebrities.
Yeah.
They're sprinkling it in.
Okay.
Right. So to kind of so that's kind of the whole full landscape. So to kind of like bring this full circle, do I think that it's necessary?
Well, it's not really. Well, you didn't really bring it full circle. Like Liquid IV, Element,
Liquid IV,
Body Armor. We never even talked about that.
Yeah.
So like, so Body Armor. It's all athletes.
Right.
And like high profile athletes.
Yeah.
So.
But we're seeing whispers that their sales are declining and that they're actually like losing market share.
Who said that?
Based on like the sales data that we've seen.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm not saying that they're not a juggernaut, but I'm saying like, is it effective in terms of gaining more market share?
Yeah.
Okay. Liquid IV, I think, owns a very specific niche.
What is that niche?
Which I think is like the well, first of all, it's like the whole like kind of drinking and like kind of partying space.
Do they actually own that?
Oh, I would say that they are the number one company in that space.
Interesting.
Yeah. Every single time that I've ever seen someone consume Liquid IV is because they were partying.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or like, we're on a bachelor party, and the nurse in the group is like, yo, here, take a Liquid IV and mix it in your mimosa so you stay hydrated.
No shit.
Fucking, and so the only time that I've ever seen, I've interacted with people consuming it was for that.
Interesting, okay.
Right? I don't see, now are they involved in the marketing of athletes and running? And
I will tell you this, I've seen Liquid IV at like multiple music festivals. Not that I've been to, but in their advertising.
Yeah.
The music festivals nonstop, and that would make sense.
Yeah.
Right? You're on fucking drugs. You're drinking like crazy.
Exactly.
Like it would make sense that you're consuming a high electrolyte based product.
So for a company like that, like did they grow to the scale that they are because of pro level athletes? I would say no, because I haven't even seen it in their marketing personally.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like, let's say being involved in like runners or endurance athletes and whatever, like I'm not a runner, so I'm not in that community, but 1000% runners do love Liquid IV. But I would say that they don't have like a brand loyalty to Liquid IV. I've seen runners consume like a whole host of different, like I feel like runners, for example, are really spread amongst the different companies. There's some that love Gatorade, there's some that love fucking Element. There's like it's kind of spread. Whereas I think Liquid IV owns the party recovery hydration space.
So would you say that Element, Liquid IV, they kind of did it from a grassroots level? Like what built their brand? Nano micro influencers, like what actually built their brand? Did they attach themselves to a very specific demographic? Like what actually built it?
I think Liquid IV was a novel product in introducing it to that niche market, and it really like took hold. People nowadays are more concerned with like, they still want to like party, drink, and like have fun, but they also want to have like wellness and take care of their body. I think that's like a growing trend of like people that are trying to do both. I think Liquid IV really like tagged on to that trend, and they became kind of number one in that space. Now, was that their intention in the first place? Probably not.
Have you ever had Liquid IV?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it good?
It's okay. Like it's
doesn't taste good.
Once again, like salty. It's like it's not bad. Like, but it's not like it's not. You don't take it for the taste.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
So it's very functional based.
Yes.
Whereas BioSteel, it's functional and it tastes really good.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah. So I guess okay, so now we've kind of come full. We talked about Element, Liquid IV. Did we discuss Body Armor at all?
I think so, yeah.
That they have like, yeah.
They're basically all athletes.
Yeah, they're basically, yeah.
They're trying to be a Gatorade 2.0 is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. It seems that way, right? They, obviously not long ago, news came out, they wrote down $765 million worth of value, which means that based on their sale price, based on their valuation for when they bought the company, they overpaid it, so they had to write down that amount of value. Yeah. So based on the reduction in sales that they're starting to see now. Now, that might not necessarily be because of the product not necessarily not selling.
Correct, yeah.
But because there's like a ton of competition in the market now.
Yeah, and it might be that
from when they originally bought the business.
Yeah, and it might be that when they were using an equity multiplier or like a revenue multiplier, EBITDA multiplier, whatever it is, that was too inflated at the time.
Yeah.
Right? They were basing it they were giving it higher multiplier because maybe they thought that it was a lot more hype than it actually was. And so that they created a value that was inflated.
Yeah, well, think about this. When they bought the business, I don't think Prime was in the picture.
Good point. Yeah.
Right? So Prime comes in, they're doing $1 to $2 billion worth of sales.
Very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. Call it a quarter of that could have been theirs, or they were anticipating that amount of sales to be Body Armors. Yeah. That didn't happen because of Prime. Yeah. Right? So I guess exactly what you're saying, coming full circle, even Prime with the pro athletes, they have fucking every single pro athlete, like high level pro athlete endorsement. Yeah. So coming full circle, how much does it matter for BioSteel moving forward? That is the burning question here.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you first. What do you think, your initial instinct, after talking about all the different competitors, what is your initial instinct of the importance of pro athletes?
So, my initial instinct is that to build a brand, it matters. To attach yourself to people with credibility, awareness, stuff like that, I think it does matter. To maintain that credibility and awareness, I still think it is important, but I don't know what level of athlete that you have to maintain in order for it to be relevant.
Or just the fact that it's like a athlete or some athletes, not necessarily like the best athlete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the thing that I'm struggling with. And all of the data, like Gen Z data coming out, says that a good portion of that demographic, the new demographic coming up, their buying habits aren't based on that. However, the Gen Z data isn't necessary. They're polling people that could think logically. I would argue that part of this demographic that we're going after is like kids, or like, I wouldn't say kids, but youth athletes, right?
So the Gen Alpha, or whatever it's called.
I'm not even sure, but they look at guys like at the elite, right? They look at those guys for what?
Yeah, Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha.
That's essentially like 2010s. It's like young teenagers right now.
Yeah, exactly. So they look at people like that, right? And they look at that for inspiration. They admire them. They look up to them, and I feel like they do latch onto a brand if that person says that they should take it.
Yeah, but for how long? How long do they latch on for?
I don't know. Yeah. So my argument is, okay, well, we don't have the top end athletes. Do we actually make a move to go after them eventually? Or maybe not even top end, just like, say we get, a couple NHLers or whatever, right? We attach ourselves to the NHL hockey player or the elite hockey player in the NHL. Or do we leverage, for example, Power Tech, which I'm an owner of, where we have multiple OHL players, we have multiple D1 players, we have multiple OHL draft picks, multiple NHL draft picks, and it's fucking free.
Yeah.
And these guys are at the elite level, like a couple steps down from like the top NHLers. Like they're on their way, and they're right there. So like, you see what I'm saying?
I would say
That's what I have. Like I'm having such a hard time trying to figure out whether or not we actually like
so
go that level.
So here's what I think. I think having zero pro level athlete marketing, sponsorships, whatever, is a mistake. I do think some is required. I also think that so on the
and why
spectrum,
though? If we're looking at Element, Liquid IV, like all these guys, and we're actually coming up with the fact that it doesn't really help that much. They didn't build their brands doing that. You know, Body Armor is not doing what it should be, and they're pumping like insane amounts of money into like the top end athletes, like the top of their game, and they're not doing anything about it.
Look at Elements,
right?
They have no pro. They have a CrossFitter, so not like a pro athlete. They fucking like they like advertise to moms like this.
Yeah.
He's like a social media influencer.
Is he?
Yeah.
Let me see. You know?
Marcus Philly.
Oh, you know who that is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's got a big social media following.
Yeah.
Probably like almost like a million.
Yeah. I've seen that guy's fucking shredded.
But I would argue no like pro level athletes whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I don't disagree. Okay, so with that being said, what's your thoughts?
Okay. So you have two ends of the spectrum. You have Element. So in the overall, like combining both like powders and drinks together, on one end of the spectrum you have zero pro level endorsements like Element. Obviously, it's doing fine for them.
I would argue though that guy that like
I'm talking about like pro athletes.
Actual pros.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and then we can incorporate how like maybe like large scale like macro influencers kind of play into that as well. I'm talking strictly like MLB, NFL, NHL, and NBA.
Okay.
Like kind of pro level athletes.
Yeah.
So so nothing in terms of that, all the way to, for example, something like Gatorade and Body Armor, which is their only marketing is that.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the two ends of the spectrum. I personally think that BioSteel shouldn't be at either one of those ends. I don't think we should do only pro level athletes, because I think that also we've seen that if we're not backed by big money, it would just be impossible to sustain that anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not even feasible for us.
Yeah.
But I also think it's a mistake of only focusing on this level, because when I look at who's buying our products, like just yesterday alone, 2 pro teams reached out to us to place orders.
Who?
Am I allowed to say on the fucking?
It's my
There you go.
It's my yeah. Well, like listen, the majority of all pro teams, MLB, NFL, NHL, all buy BioSteel products.
Yeah.
Who was it?
And what's funny is like they're very like secretive about it, because they have like endorsements from other brands.
Do they?
The Washington Nationals reached out yesterday, and the Phillies.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So 2 teams that are like, hey, like we want to pay up front, buy the order, like we love the products, we want to like make another order right now. We're running out, and our guys need this stuff.
Interesting.
Is literally what they said.
Interesting. Okay.
So Connor maybe beep out when I actually say the teams or something, because I don't know if we're like whatever. So
it's my.
There we go. Yeah. So at the end of the day, like
it's like listen, it's no mystery that all of these teams buy our product.
Right.
All of these teams buy our product. It is what it is.
In all the leagues, we've seen it.
In all the leagues, yeah. Which is something that I actually never thought happened, to be honest with you. Which is like super interesting.
I'd say the lowest percentage of teams that actually buy us is the NFL.
Interesting.
I don't know if I've seen maybe like 1 or 2 teams from the NFL that I've actually seen orders.
Oh, I've seen more than that.
More
like
teams
like early on they all bought it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I think that they're just like buying it now without reaching out.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas like I see a lot of MLB teams.
Yeah.
And a lot of NHL teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a few NBA teams. I've seen a handful of NBA teams. I'd say really MLB and NHL are the 2 that I've seen like the most of.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So my point is that those teams want the product, love the product, need the product. That is one of our consumer avatars, whether we like it or not. That's where demand is coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that we should incorporate some athlete marketing, pro athlete marketing, into our overall spread of stuff, right? Because that in the reality is those are consumers.
Interesting.
I think when it comes to the buying decision of like either the pro athletes buying it directly or the nutritionists and like kind of like organizers of the team buying it, I think so long as they see other players and other teams buying it, not the best, most popular, but just that like the leagues are buying it as a whole, that'll be enough of a factor that leads them to be like, oh, I should buy this too. Okay?
Interesting.
And I think that one of my biggest points is that consumers nowadays, I think, are the most self-aware and can see through the bullshit of marketing more now than ever.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that, so for example, when somebody sees Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian get behind a product and talk all about it or whatever, like let's say for example someone like my wife Samantha, if she sees somebody like Kim Kardashian like talking about such and such brand, she likely will be like, I don't even know if Kim Kardashian is even like taking that product or using that product. It probably is just like for her to make money. So in terms of like now, so let's talk about like celebrity level. So I'm talking about now about both celebrity athletes. I'm talking like top 5 in each league. Okay, and I'm talking about like celebrity, either just like genuine celebrities or celebrity social media influencers, people like 1 million and up.
Yeah.
That pool of people overall, I feel like has the least amount of influence than ever on buying decisions. And the reason why is I think that the vast majority of consumers can see someone like Connor McDavid being like, Body Armor is my new #1 drink. And a lot of consumers are like, is that just for the money though? Like, are you really, like, I feel like, not everyone, but I feel like a lot of consumers, it doesn't influence them to the extent that it once did.
I will tell you, you know what's fun, you know what's interesting too? Here's the thing. So when I was talking to Dave, my lawyer, who is also a big hockey guy, he's partners with me in all this hockey shit, like the academy, power tech, all that stuff. He has 2 kids in AAA. He early on was really pushing for us to renew the NHL deal. And because he was like, as soon as kids see that, they're just gonna go for it. His kids tried Body Armor, hated it. Now they're still drinking BioSteel.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think like proof is in the pudding, or whatever the fuck that saying is.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think that you have to look at. So that my second point is that you have to look at like why consumers actually buy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say that watching someone like Samantha, who I think does a lot of online shopping and like can get easily influenced by like things that she sees or whatever. I think it's a very good example of like, but she's also very self-aware.
I was gonna say, if she's easily influenced by things that she sees, is she not easily influenced by celebrity endorsements, pro athlete endorsements, stuff like that?
Because you have someone.
Are you saying that she's not?
You have a consumer like you, for example, that you don't consume any content, so you make 0 buying decisions or next to 0 buying decisions based on like recommendations that you see on social media or like celebrity endorsements or whatever, right? You just kind of like, you're so like blinders on. If you know you need something, you just go and buy it. That's the way that you buy.
No, I have bought in stuff based on, I'll give you an example. David Beckham.
Okay.
He had a sick pair of boots on from Sendra. They were like motorcycle boots. I bought those fucking boots, and they were like $800.
Now, did you buy it because it's David Beckham, or because
I
you thought
bought
they were sick boots?
Because they were sick boots, but I found out about it because of David Beckham.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Now let's say hypothetically you actually like watch a good amount of hockey too, or let's just say even like soccer, just for example, and you saw that I don't know, like Ronaldo was also wearing those boots, and you thought they were like same pair of boots. Would you still be like, fuck, those are sick boots and buy them, or was it because it was David Beckham?
I really like David Beckham's style. If they looked good, still, I would still buy them. Like I wouldn't. I actually, to your point, I wouldn't care who's wearing them.
Okay.
If they accomplished the look, it wouldn't matter.
And so you bought them, you received them.
Yeah. This was years ago.
Yeah. Like, did you wear them all the time?
Yes.
And did you ever re-buy from that brand?
No.
Why?
I never bought again from that brand. I don't think I ever looked up anything else that they sold, to be honest with you.
And so, and like, why do you think that? Why didn't you even like get to the point in time where like looking it up? Did when you owned the boots and you wore the boots, did they blow you away? Were you like, holy fuck, these are the sickest things ever? Like, I want to only wear these for the rest of my life.
I wore them a lot.
Yeah.
They just got out of style. They came out of style.
Okay.
They got out of style. They're probably back in style now because this was like, we're talking early 2000s.
Yeah.
But it was more about the look at the time that looked really good. It was also not necessarily, again, because of David Beckham. It was more about, I don't remember if I looked up anything else and I just didn't like anything else that they were offering.
Fair.
Get what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is also kind of a different product. It's not a consumable, right? Where if you really like something, you would just keep on buying.
Correct. But I think this is also based on like your overall consumer experience. Because let's say, for example, there are things that I bought because of like a trend or that I've seen it on a celebrity or something, and that leads to a one-time buying decision.
Yeah.
Right? The first time that I bought Lululemon might have been because of like seeing it or being influenced somehow for the first time.
Yeah.
I probably own fucking dozens of things from Lululemon, and I like the number one thing that I buy of clothing every single year is Lululemon. Why? Because I'm somebody that only wants a few articles of clothing that I wear every single fucking week for years. I have, from my experience buying from them, like the pair of pants that I have right now are probably 12 years old, and they look the exact same right now as 12 years ago. I've worn these things probably 1,000 times, right? And so I cycle through the same couple of clothes every single week, and I know that the reason why they keep on getting my business is because of the product and the overall experience of the product, not because of any like marketing or whatever. To be honest, actually, like in how the brand is positioned in the space of being very like yoga and like wellness and meditation and whatever. Like actually, that's not even like me as a personality. The quality of the product keeps me coming back, and I'll pay a premium because of it every single time.
Interesting.
Right? I'll spend $128 on a pair of pants because I think to myself, I'll wear these every week for 10 years. That's a fucking great cost per wear. Right?
Yeah.
And so it keeps me buying over and over and over. My point is that when it comes to BioSteel, then consumables, when it comes to fucking anything, when it comes to a car, people that have a lot of brand loyalty to a car, I would say that
they have a better experience.
They have a better driving experience long term. Like people that like are Toyota people are fucking Toyota people. Like sometimes they'll like buy a Toyota and then never buy another brand for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Why? Because they have such great reliability and like just value overall as a car that it creates like a lot of brand loyalty. Yeah. When I think of someone that's like buying a Nissan or buying a like what's another, maybe like a Cadillac, for example. Those brands don't get like massive brand loyalty for a lifetime. Why? Because you might buy a Cadillac.
How do you know that?
Because I've seen from like the people that buy Cadillacs, I've seen buy them in the past.
Interesting.
Someone that I know recently that bought a Cadillac like a couple months ago, or I think of, for example, a family member that bought a Cadillac 20 years ago. What do they drive right now? Not a Cadillac. Why? It was trendy at the time. It was a popular brand associated with celebrities and athletes and high status people. It was a premium North American brand. When it looks at like, okay, why does someone keep buying a brand? It's because of the overall experience. Okay. I think that when we look at how we're marketing, we have to understand that in the space that we're in, both the drinks and the powders for BioSteel, it really is, and I genuinely believe this, the best product in this space, right? I would say, is it the most effective formula? Not necessarily. I think that we can improve the formula. Do I think it's a great formula compared to the competitors? Yes. Do I think that it has the best like experience because it tastes really fucking good? Like, yeah, absolutely. Right.
And you've tried all these different brands.
And I've tried literally every single brand, in the last couple of months.
Interesting.
So we have to understand like the reason why people will continue to come back to us and will have great loyalty is because of the overall experience of the product.
Got it.
Okay. So that's like, we have to make sure that we're leaning into that in the marketing that we do. And I think that we do a good job of just, it's subtle, but it's effective, of just like resharing consumers that are buying the product, drinking it, experiencing it, whatever, because it showcases that people really genuinely love the product. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I think we could lean into that a little bit more, but I think that's kind of like, it's an effective strategy. But now when it comes to like celebrity endorsements, athlete endorsements, I think having some of it is very important, because it's like, hey, pro level athletes are consuming our product. Yeah. It's not the only ones consuming our products, but they're consuming the product. And if we want to essentially showcase people, it's like, hey, like it's great for everyone, from your kids all the way up to a pro level athlete. It's perfect for everyone. Yeah. Right. And so I think that's why we need to actually have our marketing align with that spread of demographic as well.
Interesting. So you think, so what is the right mix? So would you say the right mix is not the highest of the high pro athlete?
Because I think people can see through that these days.
Okay, so you think that? So what do you think it is then? Like
I think
B level, C level, like?
Yeah, I think it's
Is that actually what you? Is that where you're going with this?
correct. Ones that like genuinely love the product, that would buy it regardless of an endorsement. That's very authentic, and we capture them in our marketing. And I have no problem even doing some sort of like sponsorship of like a good sum of money or whatever. But I know that they would be consuming this even if it wasn't for the endorsement. Right? Patrick Mahomes is a perfect example. Patrick Mahomes loved BioSteel and probably still does. I actually don't even know.
Yeah.
But
his agent was like he still uses it.
Okay, there you go. Perfect.
It's hilarious.
Right. And so you look at someone like that, and yes, of course, like he's grown into a celebrity over the last couple of years.
His fucking kids used to drink it all the time.
Yeah. And so that's the type of person that, regardless of the status in the league, it's also convenient that he is like one of the best, and not the best, and also the most notorious NFL player right now. Mm-hmm. But I think that like we should go after the ones that love the product and can speak to it very organically, because that will feel the least forced, most organic, most authentic. And I think will also be the most authentic. Consumers can, I think, read through the bullshit. And that if you have a celebrity endorsement that's like actually genuinely loves the product, I think consumers can see that and feel that in their
Well, who was that? Jack Reacher?
That's another great example.
He posted our product a few times. His wife bought it for him when he wasn't feeling that great.
Exactly.
And he loves it.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is like, how do you actually go after those athletes that genuinely love the product without, like, what would be the game plan? Like, what are the steps in order to attract or get those athletes under our umbrella?
Yeah, I would say we have to have somebody that is in charge of outreach internally, which we kind of do, but I feel we can get better at it, of looking at who's consuming our product and actually like reach out to them and be like, hey, like you're already consuming the product.
So
you want to do some sort of like...
So I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot of pro athletes openly consuming the product.
Right, because they can't.
Well, either they can't or they... Not that I wouldn't say that not that they can't. There's probably some sort of like... They're probably under an agency, number one, and the agency probably tells them not to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because why would they? Now...
But it's still possible, because we've seen Austin Matthews do it.
What? Do what?
Sign up for a different company than the NHL.
Oh, I don't mean that. I thought you meant like just like openly retagging like the business, or like tagging the business and consuming it.
No, I mean even like to the point where you're like sponsoring them and you're like doing like filming content like with them.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of these athletes love the product. Bedard loves the product.
Yeah.
But like again, it's figuring out how to go from us as the business, him, but there's an agent in between, right? Are we just contacting agencies nonstop? Because at the end of the day, we have so many agencies that reach out to us. It's insane. But then how are we gonna? Every time I've actually asked, I've spoken to dozens of agencies, and every single time I've spoken to an agency, and I asked every single person, hey, does the person actually love BioSteel? Because they were reaching out to us, and they're like, oh, they love it.
Yeah.
Are they actually being genuine? I don't know. That's the problem, right? That's the problem that I run into. Now, here's another thing, too. With Power Tech, we have, again, OHL kids. We've got D1 kids. Yeah. We've got NHL draft picks, OHL draft picks. Are the, like, AHL players, like, are they not enough? Right. Are they not enough of an elite athlete to market the brand? What's your thoughts on that?
I think they are, but I still think we should find a way to incorporate some of the big four leagues somehow in our marketing. Got it.
Okay. And at what point do you think, in terms of timeline? Right now it's what?
June 20th.
Is today first day of summer?
I guess officially, yeah. It's
hilarious because today was this week was fucking balls hot. Yeah. If that's a term. Hot as balls. So at what point do we start actually doing this? For example, hockey season starts soon, actually.
Yeah.
The majority of teams are off season. And are we bringing in hockey players, for example, that there's a story behind it here? Like, for example, there's Aaron Ekblad, there's Max Domi, Ty Domi, they're all from this area. Like, do we bring in those guys? Luke Wilson, he's retired, but he's still from this area. Like, do we bring in those guys? Or, like, do we contact them? Like, there's a story behind that. You get what I'm trying to say? And I like that, where it's not like, hey, here's a paycheck, push the brand. Yeah. We're both from the same, area, stuff like that. Like what would be the game plan in order to make this very authentic? And that to me is an authentic story. We're all from Windsor. It makes sense. We're all Windsor boys or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that makes sense. But what's your take on that?
So there's two pieces here. You're first talking about kind of like how to reach out to them. I don't have the answer to that. I do think it's like through agencies.
Sure.
I think that we're gonna have to fully vet how these agencies work to actually create a deal with them to allow us to use like them in our content.
Sure.
So that we have to vet that more for.
Yeah.
But assuming that we can accomplish that, now you're looking at the second piece, which is like the type of content to do with them, right?
Yeah.
And I would argue, for example, that we don't need high production value, super sick, like
behind the scenes
clips,
shit,
whatever.
I would want to see behind the if
you could get Aaron Ekblad on a fucking podcast and you're talking to him and he's like talking about how much he like loved he still plays, right?
Okay, so
out of hockey.
Obviously, Clark doesn't watch hockey.
Yeah.
He plays for Florida Panthers, and they're in the finals right now.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
And Aaron Ekblad is he's from Windsor, and he trained in Power Tech, which is also the hockey camp that I own down here, which makes a lot of sense.
So if you could get Aaron Ekblad...
As an example, let's use him as an example.
Yeah. If you could get someone like him, where he's on your podcast, for example, and you're like, he's talking about a story of like how much he just like loves drinking BioSteel and his experience consuming it, whatever, what he's seen in the locker rooms, whatever, phenomenal. I think that sort of stuff could go a long way.
Okay. What I would want to see from...
My point is like authentic organic content.
For sure.
To be like high production value.
My idea for content is also behind the scenes stuff. I want to see how that guy trains. He's an elite level athlete in the NHL. A lot of times you don't get to see that.
Right.
And that's what I would want to see. That's what I think is really interesting about Power Tech with the guys that are coming out of Power Tech right now. You get to see how those guys train in order to make it to that level. Yeah. That's what I think is interesting.
Now, one of the things I think the old BioSteel did really well was the BioSteel hockey camp, right? With like because that was a behind the scenes thing, right?
They didn't really use the content.
I think they could have done a better job on actually like leveraging content, but I think being there, having that presence, having all those athletes with the BioSteel shirt on, I think was very effective, right? Yeah, actually, like even if they had like a couple pictures or whatever of like people wearing the shirts and drinking the product, I think that probably had a large impact
because of like with the NHLers,
with consumers buying it because they saw that content one way or another.
There wasn't really any content about it.
I think
and the majority of people that I know that heard about the brand like didn't even know about the camp.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that
in the hockey world even.
Yeah. I think that's where like we could do a better job on actually like turning that content. And I think the Power Tech Academy is going to be a great way to like test run a lot of this stuff in terms of how to turn these behind the scenes things into like actual engaging content that people like interacting with, educational and entertaining content. But I think also we'll then generate a few proof of concepts to then try to approach the pro athletes, the ones that actually like genuinely love the product. Maybe there's a story there, and film some behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we are going to have a camp. It's going to be at the end of July.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be necessarily with NHLers. It's going to be, again, the Power Tech guys that are training off season will be involved in the camp. So it's going to be a bunch of OHLers, OHL draft picks, D1 guys, NHL draft picks. Like, it's going to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny that I don't even fucking know that Aaron Ekblad is in the fucking finals right now.
That's how much Clark watches hockey. Anyways,
which is
so we have come up with a game plan where it's going to be not necessarily the highest of the high. It's going to be great players, not the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Because it's unnecessary.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Right. Even not necessarily celebrity endorsements. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
more of like an organic, authentic push.
Yeah.
Right?
So another example of all of this is our boys at Flow there. Mm-hmm. They have Gwyneth Paltrow, or whatever her name is. Is it Gwyneth Paltrow? The fucking celebrity endorsement? The fuck's her name? It's the actress. That's...
Halle Berry?
No. That's like part of Flow. Like... Flow Water.
Yeah, I know. I saw Halle Berry.
Was it Halle Berry?
Time. I don't know. I saw her on the site. It doesn't matter. Gwyneth Paltrow, whatever.
So my point is that like, when I see how she talks about the brand in their content, it feels very authentic, and it feels like she genuinely loves the product, and that's why she got involved, right?
Interesting.
I feel like stuff like that, now she's an A-level celebrity, but I feel like stuff like that is effective. Because when you watch the content, you're like, oh, like you can tell she actually would, even regardless if she's making money from it or not, she like drinks the product, loves the product. I feel like things like that would influence someone like Samantha when she sees it, if she loves Gwyneth Paltrow,
or hears about it or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
So let me ask you this: so our other boys there, who will remain nameless, got a pretty high level athlete in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? You watched like the news release or whatever the other day, you said, or yesterday or whatever. Like, what's your thoughts on that kind of scenario?
That I think is going to help them. I think it's because it does, the way that he's talking about it in the content feels like that he is drinking it and like is consuming it. Whether that's true or not, different story. But I think that's an effective choice for them, right? I think that if you just sign up everyone and anyone, and then you're not really like leaning on them and creating content, okay, then that's a problem. But I think like that sign up as an example, I think it will help them for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
But now, once again, like I don't know if you want to fucking beat this one out, but when you watched Connor McDavid's post about body armor, the actual like, commercial, what was all over the comment section? This feels forced. This feels robotic. This feels scripted.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like he's not. It feels like he's just basically a bad actor at that point.
Yeah.
That's not like real.
Yeah.
And that's my main point is that I want to include celebrity endorsements as we scale this brand, and I want to include look, I have fucking DJ Khaled on here.
On flow.
If you know Khaled, you know Khaled love water. Let the blessings flow. It's that flow water. You gotta let the blessings flow.
I don't know what the fuck
So
he's
you
talking
get
about.
that glow. If you know Khaled.
So how much do you think that does for the brand?
I think it helps too. Yeah. Because
I
feel like if I followed, if I followed DJ Khaled on social media, and I saw that he has a picture at a fucking poker table, this actually is a photo, at a poker table with a bunch of other celebrities, and he has a flow water in front of him, I'm like, he drinks this in real life. I think that subconsciously impacts my desire to buy Flow. Has it led me to the point where I actually made a buying decision? No, but I'm also not like a diehard fucking DJ Khaled fan. But I think it helps.
Yeah.
Right? Like it because it's like, okay, well, he's actually like drinking this in real life.
So my argument though is, from what you're saying, that brand with the celebrity endorsements that brand has, Flow, it should be way bigger than it is.
I think that it's at the level that it is because these people have probably helped.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that even like getting into Costco, like we've seen how Costco works.
Yeah.
Having people like that has probably helped those conversations in order to get into Costco in the first place.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that this is a very niche product that is just not going to have billions of dollars of demand just in general. The general public that consumes water, let's say for example, the fraction of, well, everyone consumes water, but that buys water separately from just like tap water, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at that demographic of people. The ones that are looking for like an alkaline water are so niche. Like it's such a small percentage of people that are willing to pay a premium because of an alkaline water, right? And I think that you're also competing with Smart Water, which has just mass distribution, right?
Owned by
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, yeah.
Right. So you're having like a very large competitor with mass distribution. I think it's also like, I personally think Smart Water is great, like branding and marketing and everything for like that niche. It's the only water where I'm like, okay, I could spend $4 on a bottle because like it feels like a premium water.
Smart Water.
Yeah.
Interesting, but you wouldn't spend that on Flow?
I think that the people that do also get that experience similar to like the way that they're willing to pay a premium because it feels like a premium product that's very niche, right?
Interesting.
I don't think that the market for alkaline water is large enough to hit the billions of dollars of sales. I think that I think they've positioned themselves well to be at the kind of size that they are. I think it's going to be like they could grow pretty steady. I don't think they're going to take over the world. But I do think it is a good fit in that market. Clearly, they like have positioned themselves well. They have Costco sales. They have a spot in Costco.
So let me ask you this: so So you do agree that you have, at the one extreme, you have Gatorade and Body Armor,
Yeah.
massive celebrity and athlete endorsements. Then you have on the other end of the spectrum, Element and Liquid IV, zero, but very influential people involved in the brand, right? You think that we should be somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
right? Now, what happens if we go element wise, or we go like not super, celebrity endorsement wise? And this is what, Liquid IV?
This is Liquid IV. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no celebrity. They're all like influencer.
Well, I'm gonna bet that these, like, who are those people? Like, there gotta be, you know what I mean? Maybe not him. I don't know, but
This feels like UGC content.
they don't get very much interaction. Holy shit!
Oh, 6.7 million. So
See what I mean?
Yeah, so he's like a fashion influencer. Okay, so they do have some like celebrity.
Yeah, and we get that too. Like we get people reposting our product like crazy that have like insane reach, right?
Yeah.
Now again, so you have that end of the spectrum. If we don't go the route that, of pro athlete, what happens to the brand?
Their content engagement fell off a cliff. It's
Yeah.
so weird. Because they have some, like this one here has 40,000 likes. This one here has 50,000 likes. Weird.
Okay, anyways, who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
But anyways, BioSteel, what happens to the brand if we don't bring on like high-end athletes or whatever, say NHLers, MLB, whatever? What happens?
I think we are limiting our potential growth. I think having those will help us scale for sure. I think it's going to be one. Do I think it's going to cause us to scale? No. Do I think it's going to be a tool that's going to help us? Yes, absolutely. Do I think that if we don't have it at all, are we potentially missing out on some potential scale and growth? Yeah, I do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. There you have it. Let me know in the comments below. I want to know everybody's thoughts on whether or not BioSteel should bring in high-end athletes, pro athletes, celebrity endorsements, and if you do think that we should, I want to know why, and I want to know at what level, and if you don't think that we should, I want to also know why. Let me know.